Hi everyone, this is Bonnie from Backwards Story, and this month I read a whopping 23 books. And I did something a little different. I posted each book as I read it on Instagram throughout the month. So the videos are, instead of going in a pile the way I normally do it, they are all going to be on different backgrounds based on what I thought represented each book the best as I put it on Instagram. But if you saw the Instagram videos, these are all going to be a little bit longer because you're limited to a minute on Instagram and you can't tell all of your thoughts. So here are some of the books, and then the rest of them are digital books that I read. Let's take a look. Today we're going to talk about the first book I read this month. It's called The Way You Make Me Feel by Maurene, and it is about a girl named Clara who is nominated for prom queen, and she thinks it's a joke. She thinks it's funny. She doesn't want to be prom queen. And then another girl at school, Rose, who thinks that prom is really important and isn't something to joke about, tells her to drop out. And so Clara goes, you know what? I'm totally going to do this, and I'm going to win. And so on prom night, she is crowned prom queen, and the two girls get into a fight on stage over that, and they almost burn the school down. So for the summer, as punishment, they have to work on Clara's father's food truck, and it's called the Cobra because it's a mix of Korean and Brazilian food, and there is so much that happens between them. They have to learn how to work together. Clara grows up a lot in this book and realizes there's more to life than pranks and jokes, and she starts finding other people in life that help her become who she will be, and it's a great growing up story, and it's also a great look at father-daughter relationships. I love Clara's dad in this. He is fantastic. He is one of my favorite YA dads, and I love the relationship between them, and this is just a really good, fun book. It's a perfect summer read, and if you like contemporary, you are really going to enjoy this one. The Window by Amelia Brunskill is a mystery/thriller from Random House, and it is about twin sisters, Anna and Jess, and Anna falls out the window and dies, leaving Jess behind, and everybody thinks that it is a tragic accident, and Jess thinks there might have been something more going on that night, and that maybe she didn't know her twin sister as well as she thought she did, and so she starts investigating and looking up everyone Anna was friends with and trying to get to the bottom of what actually happened that night. So it's hard to talk about this book without spoilers, but it is definitely a mystery, and it is a book about twins. If you like books about twins, I always have, thanks to my Sweet Valley days. I'm still not sure what I think about As She Fades by Abbi Glines. Pictured here with a cute mug from Macmillan Books Coffee Romance in that order, As She Fades by Abbi Glines. The book was not exactly what I was expecting it to be. When you read the summary isn't quite right, and it doesn't give an accurate summary of the book. The book is actually a little bit different than what you think when you read the summary. It is about a girl who is in a car accident with her boyfriend on graduation night, and all summer long she visits him at the hospital, and she starts having a friendship with her brother's friend who is a frat boy with him, and his name is Slate. And the two of them become friends, and then she goes to college in the fall, and they become something more, and there's this twist in the book, and I guess that's when the book lost me, because I was with the book up until that point, and then it wasn't the book that I thought it was going to be, and I got really confused, and I never really had my 2 feet on the ground again, and I never really fell back into the world after I fell out of it that first time. So I'm not really sure what my thoughts are on this book. I'm not sure that I'm actually going to be reviewing it because I don't know if I can pull those thoughts together. But I wanted to let you know that I did read it and a little bit about what that was about for those of you who may want to pick it up. It's definitely contemporary romance. It has a lot to do with family, and it's a really great large family. And it's also about going to college for the first time as a freshman and all of those fears as well. The next book I read this month was Tracing Shadows by Alex Lidell, who is such an underappreciated fantasy author. Her debut novel, The Cadet of Tildor, went out of print prematurely, and she now indie publishes. She wrote the Tides trilogy, which began with Aaron Ash, and now she's writing the Scout duology, which begins with Tracing Shadows. And all of her books are so fantastic. This one is about a girl named Callie, who is a Royal Scout, and she has to disguise herself as a boy in guard training and try to scout out what is going on in the kingdom and report back to the king, while simultaneously being a female who is his niece visiting and flip-flopping between the two without anybody finding out her secret identity. And I just really, really loved it. I was engaged the whole time, and I cannot wait for the sequel to come out. This book was so good. I love Alex Lidell, and I really do wish that she was better known because her books are fantastic. The next two books I read this month were the first two books in the Wish Quartet by Elise, Kova, and Lynn Larsh. The series begins with Society of Wishes and then continues with Circle of Ashes, which just came out. The third book comes out in July, and the final book comes out this fall. There's a really cool map of North America from 2057, which shows all the different territories that have become of what was once the United States after they lost the Third World War, as well as a map for the Society's mansion where everybody lives. And the book is really pretty when you look at the way the chapters are set up. Very, very pretty. And the series is a world where when you make a wish, there is always a huge consequence. And it might be a little wish or a big wish. So if you imagine the different paths you could take in life, imagine that you want to be an artist and go to art school, but your parents want you to be a lawyer and go to law school, so you become a lawyer, and then something goes wrong and you make a wish. So in order to grant your wish, the Society of Wishes, they need to basically burn the path that you're on, burn your current future, burn your current reality in order to change the future and to change fate. And so you never became a lawyer and you became an artist instead. So maybe you wanted to save a loved one. Maybe you wanted to change the course of a war or natural disaster. All of these things require balance and they require sacrifice. And so the sacrifices that come from making wishes can be big or small. And the main character wants to save herself and a friend from being shot to death, and she winds up becoming a wish granter and entering the Society of Wishes. It's like she never existed. Her entire life is eradicated. Nobody knows about her because her path in life isn't there any longer. So now she helps control the destiny and make wishes for other people. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's what I can say in a really short amount of time. I did review the two books. I'll link below if you want to check that out and see. These books are really great. I cannot wait for the next one because it's a very interesting magic, and I've really liked the characters, and they were very anime or manga-ish. They felt like characters you would see from something like Host Club or Fruits Basket or something, and it was just a lot of fun. And the next book I read was Limelight by Amy Poeppel, which is all about Broadway. And to celebrate, I took some of my oldest playbills from Aida and Wicked, which are the first shows I saw. And then I went through the oldest shows I saw, and then I decided to pair it with some of the newest shows I saw. So from Hamilton to Once on This Island, those are some of the newest shows I've seen. And there's definitely a break between Gypsy and Hamilton because there are more shows I've seen in that time frame, but you have to make do with the space that you have. So Limelight reminded me a little bit of Roomies by Christina Lauren, which has a show within the book, and they are making the show, and City Mouse by Stacey Lender, which is about a family that moves out of New York City and has to adapt to living a different type of life that is more suburban. And Limelight is about a family that moves from Texas to New York City, and they have to adapt to a new life in Manhattan. And Allison, she is the mother and the wife of the family, and she is having a hard time adapting because she had a long-term teaching position that wound up falling through the first day of school. And so she inadvertently becomes a PA to a really spoiled, rich pop star who is making his Broadway debut in a Charlie Chaplin-inspired musical called Limelight that was based on the movie. And so he doesn't really want to do it, and he is trying everything to get out of it, and she winds up immersing herself in the life and in the show and helping him stick to his contract and making sure that the show is a success. And it's a lot of fun, and it was really interesting seeing Broadway from a different perspective, because usually the books are from the actor's perspective, and this is from the perspective of someone who never imagined this was going to be her place in life, but through this show, her family adjusts to living in New York like never before, and it was really interesting. And if you love Broadway, I highly recommend picking this one up. The next book I read this month was actually YA sci-fi. It was Atlas Falling by Jessica Pierce, and it joins the ranks of so many fantastic YA sci-fi books that are out right now. It is a great time for sci-fi and YA if you love the genre. I haven't read that much of it. This is pretty much the extent of what I have, and I've read maybe half of these, but I did read Atlas Fallen, and I loved it. In fact, if you love the Lunar Chronicle series by Marissa Meyer that begins with Cinder, or if you love the Disney movie Big Hero 6 with all the bot fighting, you are really going to love Atlas Fallen. It's about a girl who does some really bad things that she really doesn't want to do in order to pay for her father's funeral, and it is kind of a little bit Cinderella because it has a prince and 3 days to find a bride and an exploding ship. Yep. An exploding ship, among other things. But there's so much going on. There is a crazy battle. The world is very dark, very gritty. The characters are really intriguing, and I cannot wait for the next book in the series to see where this goes next, because the book ends with a really big bang, and it's really hard to talk about it without spoilers, but I did post a review last week, and you can check it out on my blog. And if you like YA sci-fi, you are really going to like Atlas Fallen by Jessica Pierce, which is out now, so check it out. I finally finished reading Furyborn by Claire Legrand. I received this around September, October, and I didn't want to start reading it until January, and then I have not had time to read it until right now, and I started 2 weeks ago and had to stop to read review books, so I finally got to finish reading this over the weekend. I'm super excited. It flips back and forth over the course of 1,000 years between two girls who there's a prophecy that one is going to be the Queen of Blood and one is going to be the Queen of Sun, and that the main characters are Riel and Eliana. Every time you finish reading one point of view, you really want to keep going to see what happens to her, but then you really want to get back to the next one as well. And so it's a really good balance, and you really care about both characters, and it's a great start to the series. I love Claire. I've been so excited to read this ever since she's been talking about it. She's a local author. I've heard about this book for years, and to finally hold it and to read it, it's just something really special. And to see the way the book community has embraced it, it means a lot, and I am really proud of Claire, and I am so excited that this book is going to do well for her. The next 8 books I read were all graphic novels from First Second Books, an imprint of Macmillan and Fierce Reads, and I'm not going to go into them in depth because I have fuller videos up on YouTube. I'll link below. I read all 3 in the Chronicles of Claudette trilogy, Giants Beware, Dragons Beware, and Monsters Beware by Rafael Rosaido and Jorge Aguirre. The first 2 books in the really fun Cucumber Quest series by Gigi. The second book in the Star Scout series by Mike Lawrence entitled The League of Lasers. The first book in the Scarlet Heart Monster Hunter series by Marcus Sedgwick and Thomas Taylor. City on the Other Side by Margaret Scott and Robin Robinson. The next book I read was The Kiss Quotient by Helen Hoang, which doesn't come out until June, and this is actually the second time I've read it already. I read it when I first got it in February or March, and I was talking to somebody about how good it was, and it just made me want to read it again already. I'm so excited to review this for you soon. It is about Stella and Michael, and Stella has Asperger's, and she thinks that she's not very good at relationships or talking to other people, and she wants to get better. So she hires an escort to teach her everything, and she is in for so much more than she bargained for. And it's really cute, really sweet. It moves very, very fast. It's a lot of fun. And I just found out there's going to be a companion novel coming out in early 2019, and I'm already really excited to read that too. So this is one to watch out for in June. Next, I read a book that will appeal to anyone who loves books about actors or even about authors. It is Love Scene Take 2 by Alex Evansley, and it comes out in May, and it is about a YA author named Bennett and the leading actor of her upcoming movie Parachutes, Teddy, and it is about how they meet before they even know who the other is on an airplane, and due to a hurricane, Teddy's flight to Florida is canceled, so he comes home with Bennett, and their relationship evolves from there. So it's really cute and fun. It moves very fast, and it's just a really sweet book. So if you like books that are about YA authors or about actors, you are really going to like this one because it's super cute. It's from Swoon Reads, coming out in May. The next book I read this month was Legendary by Stephanie Garber. It is the sequel to Caraval, which came out last year. Caraval was one of my favorite books of 2017. And when I got my hands on the ARC early, I kind of freaked out. I started by reading the sampler that came in my owl crate just because I could, and it was a physical copy. And then I moved into the advanced reader copy digitally that I had on my Nook. You guys, Legendary is so good. I was hoping it would be as good as Caraval, but you can't always have that. And it was at least as good, if not better. I read this almost a week ago, and I'm still morphing my thoughts around it, but it was so amazing, and I am so in love. I can't wait to hold a finished copy in May. You know what a sucker I am for lore and mythology, and there's so much original lore in this world, in this book. There was a little bit in Caraval, but there is even more in Legendary, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but oh my gosh, it was so amazing, and I forgot just how much I loved Stephanie Garber's writing style until I started reading it, and just some of these sentences, like if you follow me on Goodreads and you go into my history on Legendary, I was quoting sentences left and right because her writing style is so gorgeous and it's so visual, and it really brings you into what she's writing, and I really cannot wait to see what she does and where she goes next. She's definitely an auto-buy author for me. The final 3 books I read in April were A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. Granted, there were parts that I skim-read because I've read all 3 of these before. However, I did read the majority of them, especially the second and third book, and I just cannot wait for the new book to come out this week. It has been a big countdown. I'm sure it has for you as well, and everybody's been quoting it online, and I was really eager to return to the world and the characters, and so I made that a priority over the last few days. And then after I finished, I kind of went back and read parts again, and I just love this series so much. I'm actually thinking about buying it a third time, because I have ebook copies in paperback so that I can mark them up and just flip to certain pages whenever I wish. So that's something that I just might have to do. So I was pretty impressed with myself for reading 23 books this month. That's a lot. I mean, 8 of them were graphic novels, so they were short and read fast, but it's still pretty impressive. And I do hope to read a lot more in May leading up to BEA. I have a lot on my wish list, and I'll be posting this week what I'm hoping to read in May. So look forward to that. I can't wait to hear what you're hoping to read this coming month, and I will talk to you guys again really soon. Bye!